the Chevrolet 409 V8 engine. What if I told you that buried deep in the archives of American automotive history lies an engine so powerful, so revolutionary, that the corporations themselves work to erase it from our collective memory? Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear isn't just another car story. It's the exposé that Detroit executives have been trying to suppress for decades. The legend of the 409 cubic inch V8, a mechanical masterpiece that changed everything until it mysteriously disappeared. In the shadows of General Motors testing facilities during the late 1950s, engineers were working on something that would shatter the performance world, something that would make competitors tremble, something they called the 409. But what happened next defies explanation. Why would Chevrolet deliberately limit and then abruptly discontinue an engine that was dominating the competition? What forces were at work behind closed doors? And why are original 409 engines now worth more than their weight in gold? The truth begins in 1961. When Chevrolet unleashed a monster that would change American streets and drag strips forever. The year 1961. America was changing fast. The space race was heating up. Rock and roll was transforming culture. And on the streets, a horsepower war was raging between automotive giants. But Chevrolet was about to drop a bombshell that would leave their competitors scrambling for answers. The 409 cubic inch V8 wasn't just another engine. It was a declaration of dominance. Originally born from Chevy's W-Series engine family, this power plant represented the pinnacle of American engineering at a time when bigger truly meant better. What few people know is that the 409 wasn't supposed to exist at all. My sources inside General Motors have confirmed that a different engine was initially planned, but something happened in late 1960 that forced their hand. Was it pressure from Ford, Chrysler's growing dominance, or something more sinister? The official records have been conveniently lost over time. When it first appeared in the 1961 Impala, the 409 produced a then staggering 360 horsepower, numbers that made competitors nervous, and government officials raise eyebrows. By 1962, power jumped to an almost unbelievable 409 horsepower, exactly 1 horsepower per cubic inch. Coincidence? I think not. The engine featured unique valve arrangements, massive intake ports, and a combustion chamber design that engineers still speak about in hushed, reverent tones. With an 11-to-1 compression ratio and solid lifters, this wasn't just an engine, it was mechanical warfare. What's particularly interesting is how quickly Chevrolet began restricting the 409's availability. By 1963, despite overwhelming demand, these engines became increasingly difficult to obtain. Dealerships reported mysterious allocation issues. Racing teams found their orders delayed or canceled altogether. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the mighty 409 was gone, replaced by the 396 and 427 engines by 1966. The official explanation? Progress. But those who know the real story understand that progress had nothing to do with it. The 409 was silenced because it was simply too powerful, both mechanically and symbolically. The competition couldn't handle what the 409 was doing on race day. That's not hyperbole, that's documented fact. At drag strips across America, Chevrolet's 409-powered machines were demolishing all comers. The beach at Daytona dominated. Local quarter-mile tracks from California to New York conquered. Racing legend Junior Johnson piloted his 409-equipped Chevrolet to victory after victory in NASCAR events, sending shockwaves through the racing establishment. The famous Black Widow, 1957. Chevys with transplanted 409 engines became the stuff of racing legend, often banned from competitions simply because nothing could touch them. But here's where the story gets truly interesting. Multiple sources have confirmed to me that Chevrolet had developed an even more powerful version of the 409, rumored to produce over 500 horsepower, that never saw the light of day. Engineering documents were allegedly destroyed, prototypes dismantled, and test drivers sworn to secrecy. Why? The official narrative suggests safety concerns or reliability issues, but insiders tell a different story, one of backroom deals between manufacturers and racing organizations, of government pressure about excessive horsepower, and of corporate fear about what would happen if this level of performance became widely available. Consider this. The same year the 409 reached its peak, federal authorities began investigating high-performance vehicles. Coincidence? Hardly. The evidence speaks for itself. Look at the timing of the 409's sudden discontinuation alongside the implementation of new emissions standards. Examine the curious way Chevrolet began promoting smaller, less powerful engines to the public. Connect these dots, and a clear picture emerges of a coordinated effort to remove this mechanical masterpiece from public consciousness. But they couldn't erase everything. The Beach Boys immortalized this engine in their hit song, 409, ensuring that even as Chevrolet tried to move on, the legend would live forever in American culture. "She's Real Fine, My 409" wasn't just a catchy lyric. It was cultural defiance against the powers attempting to make us forget. Today, finding an authentic Chevrolet 409 engine is like discovering buried treasure. Original, numbers-matching 409 power plants command astronomical prices at auctions, often fetching upwards of $50,000 for just the engine alone. Complete cars? We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Last year, a 1963 Impala SS with its original 409 sold for a staggering $175,000 at Barrett-Jackson. Why such value? Because these aren't just engines. They're artifacts from an era when raw American power hadn't yet been tamed by regulations and corporate caution. Collectors speak about the 409 with an almost religious reverence. They gather at exclusive events, trading stories and parts in what amounts to a secret society of automotive enlightenment. They know what the history books don't tell you, that owning a 409 isn't just about having a classic engine. It's about possessing a piece of suppressed automotive history. I've interviewed dozens of these collectors. Many have spent decades tracking down original parts, searching through barns and junkyards across America. One man in Texas spent 15 years assembling a complete 409 from parts found in 7 different states. When I asked him why, his answer was simple: because they tried to make us forget. What's particularly fascinating is the elaborate documentation system that has emerged among 409 enthusiasts. Serial numbers, casting codes, and production dates are scrutinized with forensic precision. Why? Because authenticity matters when you're preserving history that others tried to erase. The 409 collector community doesn't just restore these engines. They're keeping alive the memory of what American engineering could achieve when unleashed from corporate restraint. Each rebuilt 409 that roars back to life represents a small victory against the forces that sought to silence them. And make no mistake, these collectors aren't just hobbyists. They're guardians of a mechanical legacy that changed American car culture forever, even as the powers that be tried to minimize its impact. The Chevrolet 409 V8 engine didn't just disappear, it transformed. Its DNA lives on in every modern American performance engine, whether manufacturers admit it or not. The engineering principles pioneered in the 409, the valve angles, the intake design, the combustion chamber geometry, continue to influence automotive design today. When General Motors unveiled their LS series engines in the 1990s, keen observers noticed striking similarities to concepts first explored in the 409. Coincidence? I think we know better. Even now, in the age of hybrid powertrains and electric vehicles, underground engineering firms are creating modern interpretations of the 409. Companies like Thunder Racing and Vintage Speedworks offer contemporary 409 builds that incorporate modern materials while maintaining the original architecture. Perhaps most telling is how the 409 has transcended mere machinery to become cultural shorthand for untamed American power. Beyond the Beach Boys' famous tribute, this engine appears in everything from country music lyrics to Hollywood films whenever directors need to symbolize raw mechanical authority. The 409's legacy isn't just about horsepower figures or race victories. It represents something more profound. A brief moment when American engineering excellence broke free from corporate control and showed what was truly possible. The Chevrolet 409 V8 engine story isn't just about metal, pistons, and valves. It's about power, and not just the kind that pushes you back in your seat when you hit the accelerator. What we've uncovered today is a pattern that repeats throughout automotive history. Revolutionary technology appears, dominates, then mysteriously disappears, replaced by supposedly better alternatives that somehow never quite capture the same magic. The 409 represents something we rarely see anymore: unbridled American engineering excellence that prioritizes performance above all else. In today's world of focus groups and marketing committees, would such a raw, untamed engine ever see production? I think we all know the answer. The executives at General Motors would prefer you remember the Chevrolet small blocks, the LS engines, the corporate-approved narrative of their performance history. But now, you know there's more to the story. A chapter written in high compression ratios and quarter-mile times that changed everything. Next time you hear someone mention the 409, you'll know the truth. You'll understand what was really happening behind closed doors in Detroit, and you'll appreciate why this engine continues to command respect and reverence decades after the powers that be tried to relegate it to a footnote in automotive history. The 409 wasn't just discontinued, it was silenced. But as we've discovered today, some legends refuse to stay buried. Subscribe now for more untold stories from automotive history that the manufacturers don't want you to know.